Greenbergers. David. He'll know better.
Shabbat Shalom, everybody. Good morning and welcome to our Shabbat morning services. Those of you who are here, those of you who are online. A regular Shabbat service, but we will be sharing a little later on in the service with some of our new staff members a little bit about who they are, get a little more insight into what makes them tick. And then we're going to join together for lunch, and hopefully you'll stay around and play some games and whatnot. It'll be a nice Shabbat together. Benzi has graciously...
What kind of games?
You know, there's all sorts of choices.
All right.
All sorts of choices. Benzi has graciously volunteered to lead us in our opening service so you don't have to hear me daven this morning, which is always a blessing. We're going to turn to page 103. Francesca, would you like to lead us in Berchot HaShachar this morning? I know I shouldn't put you on the spot like that. That's an unfair thing to do. But since
right here,
you're
Francesca, it's right here in big print in the Siddur, right here. Come on.
So we're going to rise. Francesca was mitzvahed many months ago. She is one of our encore post-B'nai Mitzvah participants, thanks to the program that Rabbi Shelley Kirsch has created. So she'll lead us in Berchot HaShachar in 103.
מלך העולם, אשר נתן וסקביב ללבחכים בין יום ובין לילה.
אמן.
ברוך אתה אדוני אלוהינו מלך העולם, שעצני בצלמו.
אמן.
ברוך אתה אדוני אלוהינו מלך העולם, שעצני בין בת הורים.
אמן.
ברוך אתה אדוני אלוהינו מלך העולם, שעצני ישראל.
אמן.
ברוך אתה אדוני אלוהינו מלך העולם, פוקע עברי.
אמן.
ברוך אתה אדוני אלוהינו מלך העולם, מלביש ערומי.
אמן.
ברוך אתה אדוני אלוהינו מלך העולם, מתיר אסורי.
אמן.
ברוך אתה אדוני אלוהינו מלך העולם, זוקף כפופים.
אמן.
ברוך אתה אדוני אלוהינו מלך העולם, רוקח הארץ העמיים.
אמן.
ברוך אתה אדוני אלוהינו מלך העולם, המכין מצעדי גבר.
אמן.
ברוך אתה אדוני אלוהינו מלך העולם, שעצני לי כל תורצי.
אמן.
ברוך אתה אדוני אלוהינו מלך העולם, עוזר ישראל בגבורה.
אמן.
ברוך אתה אדוני אלוהינו מלך העולם, עוטר ישראל בתפארה.
אמן.
ברוך אתה אדוני אלוהינו מלך העולם, הנותן לילה יבקוע.
Amen. Yasher Koach. For a last minute, on the spur of the moment davening, Kol HaKavod.
ברוך אתה אדוני אלוהינו מלך העולם, המעביר שינה מעיני ותנומה מעפעפיי. מתננו היום ובכל יום לכנו חסד רחמים בעיניך ובעיניך רואינו ותגמלנו חסדים טובים ברוך אתה אדוני גומל חסדים טובים לעמו ישראל.
Page 105 לעולם. אבל אנחנו עמך בני ברית. אשרינו מה טוב חלקנו ומה נעים גורלנו.
אשרינו מה טוב חלקנו, מה נעים גורלנו, מה יפה ירושתנו, אשרינו שאנחנו משכימים ומעריבים ערב ובוקר, ואומרים פעמיים בכל יום.
שמע
שמע ישראל, אדוני אלוהינו, אדוני
אחד. ברוך אתה אדוני מקדש את שמך.
קדש את שמך מקדישי שמך, וקדש את שמך בעולמך, ובישועתך תרים ותגביה קרננו, ברוך אתה אדוני, מקדש את שמך ברבים.
Amen. A little study of Torah, page 107 through page 109.
ברוך אתה אדוני, אלוהינו מלך העולם אשר קידשנו וציוונו לעסוק בדברי תורה.
יהי רצון לפניך, אדוני, יבנה בית המקדש.
יהי רצון לפניך אדוני אלוהינו ואלוהי אבותינו אמותינו שתיתן חלקנו בתורתך ונהיה מתלמידיו של אהרון הכהן אוהב שלום ורודף שלום אוהב את הבריות ומקורבן לתורה.
Page 111, Kaddish de Rabbanan, Yitgadal v'Yitkadash Shemerabah.
Amen.
Ve'alma divrach yute ve'amlich malchute v'chayachon v'yomechon v'chayedecho Beit Yisrael ba'agalau v'zman kariv imru. Amen.
Amen. Yehei
Yehei Shmei Rabbah mevorach le'olam
Omei
omei almaya. Yitbarach v'yishtabach v'yitpa'ar v'yitromam v'yitnaseh. V'yitadar, v'yitalev, v'yitalal shemei d'kudesha b'richu. Le'ela min kol berchata v'shirata. Tush bechata v'nechemata. Tamiran ve'alma v'imru amen. Al Yisrael v'al Rabbanan v'al Talmidei Hon v'al kol Talmidei Hon v'al kol man de'askin be'oraita diva atra hadein v'diva chol atar ve'atar. Yehei lahon elachon shalom araba achina v'chista v'rachamim. V'chayin arichinu mizana revicha u'furkana mikon devon v'shmaya v'imru. Amen. Yehei shalom araba min shemaya v'chaim tovim aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael v'imru. Amen. Oseh shalom v'imru mav hu barachamav v'aseh shalom.
Amen.
Amen. We jump to page 120. 120.
מזמור שיר חנוכת הבית לדוד. אלך אדוני אקרא. הפכת מספרי למחולי, פיתחת שקי ותעזרני שמחה, למען יזמרך כבוד ולא ידום, אדוני אלוהי לעולם אודך.
Mourners and those observing your site, 121. Yitgadal v'yitkadash merabah.
Amen.
Ve'alma divrach yute ve'amlich malchute. V'chayachonu v'yomechonu v'chayedecho Beit Yisrael. V'agalau v'zman kariv v'imru.
Amen. Yehei shmei Rabbah mevorach l'olam olmei almaya.
Yitbarach v'yishtabach v'yitpa'ar v'yitromam v'yitnaseh v'yitadar v'yitalev v'yitalal shemei d'kudesha b'richu. Le'ela min kol berchata v'shirata tush bechata v'nechemata damiran ve'alma v'imru. Amen. Yehei shalom rabba min shemaya v'chaim aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael v'imru. Amen. Oseh shalom b'imromav hu ya'aseh shalom aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael v'imru.
Amen.
Amen. We rise 122.
Baruch she'amar v'haya ha'olam baruch hu. Baruch whatever you. Yochid Chei Olamim, Melech Mishubach U'Forei Ad Shemo HaGadol, Baruch Atah Adonai, Melech Mulal Batishbachot. Page 123, we are seated. Hodu L'Adonai Kirubu Shemo. Sapru v'agoyim ekvodo v'chol amim niflotav ki gadol Adonai mulam ma'od v'narhu al kol Elohim ki kol Elohei hamim elilim v'Adonai shamayim asa od v'hadar lefanav yismechu hashamayim v'tagel ha'aretz. Top of page 125. Ramamu Adonai Eloheinu v'ishtachavu l'hadam raglav kadosh hu. Ramamu Adonai Eloheinu v'ishtachavu l'har kodsho. Hi kadosh Adonai Eloheinu. V'urachu michaper. Baruch Elohim. Top of page 126. Adonai haishu alam b'char bechatecha sela. Adonai tzvaot imanu miskol Elohei Yaakov sela. Adonai tzvaot asher adam boteach bach. Adonai hoshia melech yaneinu b'yom koreinu. Hoshia et amecha v'rech et nachotecha. The bottom of page 126. Ashrei ha'am shekachalo, ashrei ha'am sh'Adonai Elohav, va'ani b'chastecha batachti yageh libi b'shuatecha. Ashir al Adonai, higamal alai. Top of page 127. Lamnatseach mizmor leDavid. Hashamayim is amin. Yehiyu l'ratzon imrei fi v'hegon libi lefanecha. Adonai tzuri v'go hali. Top of page 128. LeDavid b'shanato et amo lifnei Avimelech. Vayigor shehu vayeleh. Hodeh Adonai nefesh avadav v'lo yeshmu kol ha'chosim bo. Page 129. V'hi noam Adonai Eloheinu aleinu, u'maseh yodeinu konenu aleinu, u'maseh yodeinu konenehu. Top of page 130. Oshev b'seiter elyon. Orech yomim asbiehu, v'areu b'shuati. Orech yomim asbiehu, v'areu b'shuati. Top of page 131. Hallelujah, hallelujah, Shem Adonai, hallelujah, Abdei Adonai Shem. Beit Yisrael baruchu et Adonai, Beit Aaron baruchu et Adonai, Beit Halevi baruchu et Adonai, Yirei Adonai baruchu et Adonai, Baruch Adonai Mitzion, Shochen Yerushalayim. Hallelujah. We rise on page 132 for the Hallel HaGadol. Hodu l'Adonai ki tov, ki leolam chasdo. Hodu leolam. L'malech hamo b'midbar, ki leolam chasdo, l'makeh mahal. Noten lechem lechol basar, ki leolam chasdo. Hodu le'el hashamayim, ki leolam chasdo. Page 133. Ranut tzadikim b'Adonai l'asher amidav. Nafshenu chikta l'Adonai, Ezreinu maginenu, ki vo yismach libeinu, ki v'shem kodsho batachnu, yehi chastecha Adonai oleinu, kasher yichalnu lach. Page 134, Mizmor shir liyom hashabbat, tov lodot l'Adonai, uzamer shemcha leon, lagid baboker chastecha, v'emunatcha baleilot. Tzadik katamar yifrach, keres balvanon yiskeh, shtulim b'veit Adonai, b'chatzorot Eloheinu yafrichu, od yinavum b'seiva, d'shenim v'rananim yiyu, l'hagid ki ashar Adonai, tzuri v'lo avla'at avo, Adonai malach eut lavesh lavesh. Mikolot mayim rabim, adirim mishpreyam, adir b'marom Adonai, edotecha ne'emnu ma'od leveitcha nava kodesh, Adonai, li'orech yamim. Page 135, Yehi chavod Adonai. V'hurachu michaper v'lo yashchit, v'irbar l'shiva po v'lo yir kol chamato, Adonai Hoshia melech yaneinu b'yom koreinu. Ashrei,
Page 136 for Ashrei.
Okay. Ashrei yoshvei veitecha, ojo l'chasel, Ashrei. Malchutcha malchut kol olamim, u'meshcha b'chol dor v'dor. Hilat Adonai daber pi, v'yivarech kol basar shem kodsho le'olam v'hed, v'anachnu v'arech ya'ah, v'ataver olam, hallelujah.
Page 137.
Hallelujah, hallelujah nafshi et Adonai. Adonai zokef kefufim, Adonai ohev tzadikim. Adonai shomer kerim, yatom v'almana yoded v'derech v'sheim yavet, yimloch Adonai l'olam al hayich tzion dor v'dor. Hallelujah.
138.
Hallelujah, ki tov zamra Adonai heinu. Magi dvarav li'Yaakov, chukavu mishpatav li'Yisrael, lo asachen l'chol goy, u'mishpatim bal yidaum. Hallelujah.
139.
Hallelujah. Hallelujah. Vayarem keren le'amot, ila l'chol chasidav, livnei Yisrael am karovo. Hallelujah.
140.
Hallelujah. Shir l'Adonai shir chadash, tilato b'kal chasidim. לאסור מלכיהם בזיקים ונכבדיהם בחבלי ברזל, לעשות בהם משפט כתוב, הדרהו לכל חסידיו. Hallelujah.
Page 141.
Hallelujah, 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 El Bekodsho. Hallelujah, hallelujah, Birki Auzo, hallelujah, 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 Big Vurotav, hallelujah, hallelujah, Kirov Gudlo, hallelujah, 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 take a shofar, hallelujah, hallelujah, benevel vechinor, hallelujah, 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 betof umachol, hallelujah, hallelujah, beminim vehugav, hallelujah, 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 betzil tzilei shama, hallelujah, hallelujah, betzil tzilei trua, kol hanshama tehallel, hallelujah, hallelujah, kol hanshama tehallel, hallelujah, kol hanshama tehallel, hallelujah. Baruch Adonai Lo Amen. Ubaruch Shem Kvodo Leolam V'Yamalech Kvodo Et Kol Haaretz. Amen ve'amen.
Page 142. Please rise.
Vayivarech David et Atahu Adonai Elohim Asher Bacharta Avram V'Hotzeto Me'ur Kasdim V'Samta Shmo Avraham Umatzata Et Levavo Ne'eman Lifanecha V'Charot Imo Habrit. V'hayam bakata lifnehem, v'yavu b'toch hayam b'yabasha, v'et rodfehem hishlachta b'mtzalo k'mo even b'mayim azim. V'yosha Adonai. V'yar Yisrael et hayat hagedolah, asher asa Adonai b'mitzrayim, v'yiruham et Adonai, v'yaminu b'Adonai u'Moshe avdo. Az Yashir Moshe u'bnei Yisrael. Ozi ve'zimratya va'yehi li lishua. Ozi ve'zimratya Vayehi לישועה עוזי וזמרת ויהי לי לישועה עוזי וזמרת ויהי לישועה. לה 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 Adonai Yimloch Leolam Vaed Adonai Yimloch Leolam Vaed Ki Adonai Hamulcha Umoshel Bagoyim Va'alu Moshim B'Hartzion Lishpoit Et Harisav V'Haital Adonai Hamlucha V'Haya Adonai Lamelech HaKol Haaretz V'Yom Ha'hu Adonai Echad U'Shemo Echad.
Page 145. You may be seated.
Nishmat Kol Chai Tivarech Et Shimcha Adonai Eloheinu Baruch Kol Basar Timenu. Ilufinu Maleshim Ein Anachnu Maspikim Lazo Triam Galtan Nehalelcha Nushabechacha Unafaercha Unavarech Et Shem Kodshecha Kamur David Barchin Afshet Adonai B'chol Kravai Et Shem Kodsho Hohel B'tatzuma Otuzecha Hagadol B'chvot Shemecha Hagibor L'netzach Vanor B'naratecha Hamelech Hayoshev Al Kisei Ram V'Nisa.
Page 147. Shochenad.
Shochenad Marom V'Kadosh Shemo
Marom V'Kadosh Shemo
Tzadikim Baruch Elohim V'Tefillah B'fi Yesharim Tithalal U'v'divrei Tzadikim Titbarach U'v'yelshon Chasidim Titromam U'v'kerev Kedoshim Titkadash U'makalot Ribavot
Abet Yisrael
להודות, להלל, לשבח, לפעל, לרומם, להדר, לברך, להלל ולקלס על כל דברי שירות ותשבחות, דוד בן ישי, עבדך משיחך, ישתבח שמך לעד מלכנו. ברכות והודאות מעתה ועד עולם, ברוך אתה אדוני, אל מלך גדול בתשבחות, אל ההודאות, אדון הנפלאות, הבוחר בשירי זמרה, מלך מלכי העולמים.
Katsi Kaddish in the middle of page 148. Please stand.
יתגדל ויתקדש שמי רבם, בעלמא דברה קירותי והמליך מלכותי, מחייכון וביומכון ובחיי דכל בית ישראל, בגלה ובזמן קריב, ויאמרו אמן. יהי שמי רבם מברך, לעלם ולעלמי עלמא. יתברך וישתבח ויתפאר ויתרומם ויתנשא ויתהדר ויתעלה ויתהלל שמי קודשה בריחו לעילה מן כל ברכתה ושירתה תושבחתה ונחמתה דמירן ועלמה ויאמרו אמן. ברכו את אדוני המבורך. ברוך אדוני המבורך לעולם ועד. ברוך אתה אדוני אלוהינו מלך
Page 150,
העולם.
you may be seated.
יוצר אור ובורא חושך עושה שלום ובורא את הכל הכל ידוך. אין כרכך אדוני אלוהינו בעולם הזה ואין זולתך מלכנו לחיי העולם הבא. אפס פלטך גואלנו לימות המשיח ואין דומה לך מושיענו לתחיית המתים. אל אדון על כל המעשים ברוך ומבורך בפי כל נשמה גודלו וטובו מלא עולם דעת ותבונה סוף במותו המתגאה על חיות הקודש ונדר בכבוד על המרכבה זכות ומישור לפני כיסו חסד ורחמים לפני כבודו טובים מאורות שברא אלוהינו יצרם בדעת בבינה ובהשכל כוח וגבורה נתן בהם להיות מושלים בקרב תבל מלאים זיו ומפיקים נוגה נאה זיום בכל העולם שמחים בצאתם וששים בבואם עושים בהם הרצון קונם פר וכבוד נותנים לשמות צולה ורינה לזכר מלכותו קרא לשמש ויזרח אורה והתקין צורת הלבנה שבח נותנים לו כל צבא מרום תפארת וגדולה שרפים ואופנים וחיות הקודש לאל אשר שבת מכל המעשים. Page 152. יתברך מושיענו על שבח מעשה ידיך ועל מאורי הור שעשית יפרוך הסלע. יתברך צורנו מלכנו וגואלנו. Page 153. וכולם פותחים את פיהם בקדושה ובתורה בשירה ובזמרה ובזמרה בשירה ובזמרה ובזמרה ומברכים ומשבחים ומפארים ומריצים ומקדישים וממליכים כולם מקבלים אליהם ולמלכות שמיים זה מזה ונותנים רשות זה לזה להקדיש ליוצרה מנחת רוח בשפה ברורה ובנימה קדושה כולם כאחד עונים ואומרים ביראה קדוש 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 אדוני צבאות מלך הארץ כבודו והאופנים וחיות הקודש מרעש גדול מתנשאים למצרפים לעומתם משבחים ואומרים ברוך כבוד אדוני ממקום אל ברוך נעימות ייתנו המקדש בטובה בכל יום תמיד מעשה בראשית כאמור לעושה אורים גדולים כי לעולם חסדו אור חדש על ציון תאיר ונזכה כולנו מהרה לאורו ברוך אתה אדוני יוצר המאורות Avara bavtanu Adonai Eloheinu, page 154. וקרבתנו לשמך גדול סלע באמת, להודות לך יחדך באהבה. ברוך אתה אדוני הבוחר בעמו ישראל באהבה.
Francesca leads us in Shman Ve'ahavta, page 155.
Shema Yisrael, Adonai Eloheinu, Adonai Echad. Ve'ahavta et Adonai Elohecha, b'chol levacha, ובכל נפשך, ובכל מאודיך, והיו הדברים האלה אשר אנוכי מצווך היום על לבביך, ושיננתם לבניך, ודיברת בם בשבתך בביתך, ובלכתך בדרך, ובשוכבך ובקומך, ושרתם לאות על ידיך, והיו לטוטפות בין עיניך, ובטחתם על מזוזות ביתך ובישעריך.
אדוני אלוהיכם אמת. אמת אלוהים. דור ודור הוא קיים ושמו קיים. וכיסון נכון ומלכותו ואמונתו לעד קיימת. ודבריו חיים עד אמת שאתה אורנו אלוהינו ולבתינו מלכנו מלך אבותינו גואלנו גואל אבותינו יוצרנו יצוא ישועתנו פודנו מצילנו מעולם שמך אין אלוהים זולתך עזרת אבותינו אתה ומעולם מגן אמת אתה אמת אתה Page 158. Vehilat leil elyon baruch u'vorach Moshe u'Miriam u'bnei Yisrael lechanu shira besimcha rabba ve'amru kulam mi chamocha ba'elim Adonai mi kamocha nedar ba'kodesh נהרה תהילות אוסף אלה שירה שירה חדשה שיבחו גאולים לשמך שיבחו גאולים לשמך שפת הים יחד כולם הודו הודו והמליכו יחד כולם הודו והמליכו ואמרו אדוני ימלוך לעולם ועד צור ישראל קומה בעזרת ישראל ובדחילו
Yehuda v'Yisrael, go aleinu, Adonai tzvaot shemo
Kedosh Yisrael Baruch atah Adonai Gar Yisrael.
We join together the Amidah on 159 through the Kedusha on 161.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu v'Elohei Avoteinu Elohei Avraham, Elohei Yitzchak, Elohei Yaakov, Elohei Sarah, Elohei Rivka, Elohei Rachel, Elohei Leah, Ha'el Hagadol, Hagibor veHanora, El Elyon, Gomel Chasadim Tovim, Vekonei Hakol, Vezocher Chastei Avot, Umevi Goel, Nivnei v'neihem למען שמו באהבה מלך חוזר ופוקד ומושיע ומגן ברוך אתה אדוני מגן אברהם ופוקד שרה אתה גיבור לעולם אדוני מחיי מתים אתה רב להושיע משיב הרוח ומוריד הגשם מכלכל חיים בחסד מחיי מתים ברחמים רבים סומך נופלים ורופא חולים ומתיר אסורים ומקיים אמונתו לשני עפר מי כמוך בעל גבורות ומי דומה לך מלך ממית ומחיה ומצמיח ישוע ונאמן אתה להחיות מתים ברוך אתה אדוני מחיי המתים נקדש את שמך בעולם כשם שמקדישים אותו בשמי מרום ככתוב על יד נביאיך וקרא זה אל זה ואמר קדוש 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 אדוני צבאות מלך כל הארץ כבודו אז בכל רעש גדול אדיר וחזק משמיעים קול מתנשאים לעומת שרפים לעומתם ברוך יאמרו ברוך כבוד אדוני ממקומו ממקומך מלכנו תופיע ממקומך מלכנו תופיע ותמלוך עלינו ותמלוך עלינו כי מחכים אנחנו לך מתי תמלוך בציון בקרוב בימינו לעולם ועד תשכון תתגדל ותתקדש בתוך ירושלים עירך לדור ודור ולנצח נצחים ועינינו תראינה מלכותך כדבר האמור בשירי עוזך על ידי דוד משיח צדקך ימלוך אדוני לעולם אלוהי ציון לדור ודור, הללויה. לדור ודור, לדור ודור, לדור ודור נגיד גודלך. לדור ודור, לדור ודור, לדור ודור נגיד גודלך. ולנצח נצחים, ולנצח נצחים, קדושתך, קדושתך נקדיש. ושבחך אלוהינו מפינו לא ימוש, לא ימוש לעולם ועד. כי אל מלך גדול וקדוש אתה, ברוך אתה אדוני האל הקדוש.
As you finish the Amidah, we turn to Kaddish Shalem, which is found on page 167.
יתגדל ויתקדש שמי רבה, בעלמא דברי חירותי והמליך מלכותי בחייכון וביומכון ובחיי לכל בית ישראל, בגלה ובזמן קריב ויאמרו אמן. ישמי רבה מברך, לעלם ולעלמי עלמיא. יתברך וישתבח ויתבר ויתרום וינשא ויתהדר ויתעלה ויתהלל שמי דקודשה. בריך ולעילה מכל מלאכתה ושירתה תושבחתה ונחמתה דמירן בעלמא ואמרו אמן. יתקבל צלותון ובאותון לכל ישראל קודם ובהון דבישמיא ואמרו אמן. יש להם הרבה מן שמיא וחיים עלינו ועל כל ישראל ואמרו אמן. עשה שלום במרומיו הוא יעשה שלום עלינו ועל כל ישראל ואמרו Amen.
We'd now like to invite Francesca up to lead the Torah service, which begins on page 168.
אין כמוך ואלוהים אדוני, ואין במעשיך. מלכותך מלכות כל עולמים, וממשלתך בכל דור ודור. אדוני מלך, אדוני מלך, אדוני ימלוך לעולם ועד. אדוני עוז לעמו ייתן, אדוני יברך את עמו בשלום. הרחמים היטיבה ברצונך את ציון. תבנה חומות ירושלים, תבנה חומות ירושלים. תברך לבד בטחנו, מלך אל רם ונישא, אדון עולמים.
ויהי בנשוא אהרון, ויאמר משה, קומה אדוני, ויפוצו אויביך, וינוסו משנאיך מפניך. כי מציון תצא תורה, כי מציון תצא תורה, ודבר אדוני מירושלים. ברוך שנתן תורה תורה, ברוך שנתן תורה תורה, לעמו ישראל בקדושתו. בריך שמי בינר החץ ולשמי קדישה, קדישה יקירה, אנא אמר תושבחן. בינר החץ, בינר החץ ולשמי קדישה, קדישה יקירה, אנא אמר תושבחן. יהי רבה קודמך, דתפתח ליבי באורייתא, ותשלים משאלין דליבי, וליבה דכל עמך ישראל, לטוב ולחיין ולשלום. אמן.
Shema Yisrael, Adonai Eloheinu, Adonai Echad.
Shema Yisrael, Adonai Eloheinu, Adonai Echad.
Echad Eloheinu, Gadol Adonenu, Kadosh Shemo.
Echad Eloheinu, Gadol Adonenu, Kadosh Shemo. Adonai, Onera Mema.
והתפארת והנצח וההוד. כי כל בשמיים ובארץ, כי כל בשמיים ובארץ, לך אדוני הממלכה, והמתנשא לך לראש. רוממו, רוממו, אדוני אלוהינו, והשתחוו, והשתחוו, להדום רגליו קדוש הוא. רוממו, רוממו, אדוני אלוהינו, והשתחוו, והשתחוו, להר קודשו, להר קודשו, כי קדוש אדוני אלוהינו. ישראל, ישראל, ואורייתא חד הוא. ישראל, ואורייתא חד הוא. תורה אורה. Hallelujah. Torah, ora. Torah, ora. Hallelujah. Hallelujah. Torah, ora. Torah, ora. Hallelujah. Hallelujah. Torah, ora. Torah, ora. Hallelujah.
So once again, a good Shabbos to all. How are you all doing today? Thank you. And all of you online, hopefully you are doing well as well. If you come in, you can join us for lunch today, if you're in the neighborhood. So this morning, I was paying attention, which is not always the case, but I was this morning, to some of my davening, and in particular, I was paying attention to Nishmat Kol Chai in the Siddur, which is found on page 145. It's a beautiful poem that concludes the Psukei de Zimra prayer. And I noticed on one line on page 146. So if you look at your Siddur for just 1 second, on 146, towards the middle of the page, but just a little above the middle of the page, where in the English it says, let my soul bless. Do you see that? Barchi Nafshi, on the very far right side of 146. One line down from that English where it says, let my soul bless, there's a line that says, V'lashon asher samta befinu, hein heim yodu v'yivrechu v'yishibchu v'yafru v'yomamu. So this tongue, right? Lashon asher samta befinu, the tongue that you put into our mouth. Does everybody see that? What should we do with that tongue? And how should we use that tongue? Exactly. Yivrechu, we should bless. Yishabchu, we should praise. Yifaru, we should glorify. And we should romemu, we should exalt or lift up. So the question, of course, is how do we do that? I mean, it's pretty obvious. We know how to do it. But as I was reading that, I also was thinking about this very unusual language in the Torah reading this morning in particular. Now go to your Chumash for a second and go to page 44. I never paid attention to this, but I noticed it this morning. Chapter 7. I'm going to read it in the Hebrew. First in the English, right? The Lord says to Noah, go into the ark with all your household, for you alone have I found righteous before me in this generation. And then in the Hebrew, verse 2, Mikol habehema hatehora tikach lecha shiva shiva ish v'ishto umina behema asher lo tahora hi shnaim ish v'ishto. What does that mean? Of every pure animal, you shall take 7 pairs, male and their mates, of every animal that is not pure to a male and its mate. All right, we know what's going on here, right? Noach is instructed to take pure animals in and impure animals in to the ark. The pure animals for what purpose? And the what? For sacrifice, and the impure animals to populate the world. I want to look at the language for a minute. Do you notice anything in the Hebrew that's unusual there? It's so subtle that I doubt you're going to... There is a doubling of the word, that is true. Shiva, Shiva, 7, 7, which is just a biblical way of describing the multiples of them. It's not just 7, but it's 7 of each of the different kinds of animals. And ish ve'ishto, the male and the female, from the beasts that... But that's not what I was looking at. What I was looking at, yeah? Well, that's yeah. Actually, I just noticed that right now that it doesn't. Why is it ish ve'ishto instead of yeah? That's a very interesting. But that's not even what I was noticing. But that is an interesting thing. What I was noticing is it says tehorah, which means pure, and then what it doesn't say is tameh. Normally in the Torah, when you're talking about pure and impure, it will say tahor and tameh, pure and impure. But it doesn't say tameh. It says lo tahor or lo tahorah. Why? Okay, so Benzi's suggesting maybe there was no concept of tumah, of impurity. It wasn't relevant. Or maybe, this is what I want to throw out there, in a world in which we live today where words have such power. And I was thinking about this morning as I was reading the horrific article about Paul Pelosi and the attack on him personally, and how easy it is to stir up hatred through social media, through language, through the media, how we use words and we throw words around without thinking about the consequences of those words. They're so powerful. A word like traitor, for example, it has weight. It means something. To call somebody a traitor simply because you disagree with their political positions can lead potentially to acts of violence. We have to be so careful. And maybe the Torah is teaching us here that to be respectful, even of the animals that are not pure. To call them tameh would be maybe derogatory. And so the Torah is being so sensitive to saying, okay, they're not tameh, but they're lo tahor. Right? It's so much more gentle than tameh in this context. You're impure. It's not that you're impure. You're just not fully clean. Right? Gentle. And maybe that's what's going on here. When it says that we should use language and speak about, right, our lashon in an uplifting manner, in a manner of blessing and praise and glorifying, maybe it's just those tiny little things about how we use words that we need to be so careful about. Simple things. Just pay attention very carefully to how we describe who we are describing, and can we frame it even a little bit in the positive. So, a lesson from Parshat Noach. We'll get more lessons a little bit later. We begin reading page 41.
ויעזור ויגב ישוע לכל החוזים בו ונאמר אמן הכל הבוגר להנו תנו כבוד לתורה כהן קרב יעמוד אברהם בן עזרא הכהן עלייה הראשונה ברוך שנתן תורה לעמו ישראל בקדושתו ואתם הדבקים באדוני אלוהיכם Hayim kulchem hayom.
Looking for little Joe.
ברכו את אדוני מברך,
Baruch Adonai Barach Leolam Vaed.
ברוך אדוני מברך לעולם ועד, ברוך אתה אדוני אלוהים מלך העולם אשר בחר בנו מכל העמים ונותן לנו את תורתו, ברוך אתה אדוני נותן התורה.
Amen. Amen. Ela toldot Noach, ish sadik, tamim haya bedorotav, et Elohim hitalech Noach, vayoled Noach shlosha vanim, et Shem, et Cham, et Yafat, ותשחית, ותשחט הארץ לפני האלוהים, ותמלא הארץ חמס, וירא אלוהים את הארץ והנה נשחטה, כי השחית כל בשר את דרכו על הארץ. ויאמר אלוהים לנוח, קץ כל בשר בו לפני, כי מלאה הארץ חמס מפניהם, והנני משחיתם את הארץ. עשה לך תיבת עצי גופר קינים תעשה את התיבה, וחפרת אותה מבית ומחוץ בכופר, וזה אשר תעשה איתך 300 אמה, אורך התיבה 50 אמה רחבה, ו30 אמה קומתה. זוהר תעשה לתיבה, אלא מה תכלנה מלמעלה, ופתח התיבה בצידה תשים תחתים 32 העצה תעשה.
ברוך אתה אדוני אלוהינו מלך העולם אשר נתן לנו תורת אמת והיה נעתה בתוכנו, ברוך אתה אדוני נותן התורה.
Amen. Ha'amod. Bihu ben Yehuda Meir Laliashehi.
אני.
ברכו את אדוני המבורך,
Baruch Adonai Barach Leolam Vaed.
ברוך אדוני המבורך לעולם ועד, ברוך אתה אדוני אלוהינו מלך העולם אשר בחר בנו מכל העמים ונתן לנו את תורתו, ברוך אתה אדוני נותן התורה.
אמן.
אמן. ואני הנני מביא את המבול מים על הארץ לשחט כל בשר אשר ברו החיים מתחת השמיים, כל אשר בארץ יגבה, והקימותי את בריתי איתך, ובתה התיבה אתה ובניך אשת ואשתך ונשי ונשי בניך איתך, ומכל החי, מכל בשר, שניים מכל תיבה, שני מכל תביא על התיבה, לחיות איתך, זכר ונקבה יהיו.
ברוך אתה אדוני אלוהינו מלך העולם אשר נתן לנו תורת אמת וחיי עולם נטע בתוכנו. ברוך אתה אדוני נותן התורה.
Before we call the third Aliyah, Ellen Cervantes has been reading Torah here for many, many years.
20.
And I've come to realize that there's not a Torah reading. Not successful. Go on.
Oh, thank you. It's a pleasure.
Ta'amod. Raya bat Yosef Simcha al Aliyah Shlishi.
Baruch Adonai Hamvarach Leolam Va'ed. Baruch Adonai.
Asher Bachar Banu Mikol Ha'amin Amanu et Torah Baruch Atah Adonai Noten HaTorah
Amen. May ha'of laminehu umin ha'behema lamina mikol remes ha'adama laminehu shnayim mikol yavo'u elecha lachayot v'ata kach lecha mikol machal asher yeyachel v'yasafta elecha v'haya lecha v'lahem lo achla v'ya'as Noach kechol asher tziva oto Elohim. Kenasa.
Baruch Atah Adonai Elohim melech haolam asher natan לנו תורת אמת וחיי עולם. Baruch Atah Adonai Noten HaTorah
Amen.
Ta'amod. Bat Eliyahu. Rachel Aliyah HaRevi'i.
Baruch Adonai Hamborach.
Baruch
Baruch Adonai Hamvarach Leolam Va'ed.
Baruch Adonai Hamborach Leolam Va'ed. Baruch Atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher bachar banu mikol ha'amim natan lanu et Torato. Baruch Atah Adonai Noten HaTorah.
Amen.
Amen. Vayomer Adonai leNoach bo atavacho beitcha el hateva ki otcha ra'it tzadik lefanai bador hazeh mikol habracha hatehara mikol habehema hatehara tikach lecha shiva ish ve'ishto umin habehema asher lo tehara hi Shnaim ish ve'ishto Gam me'of hashamayim Shiva zachar v'nekeva לחיות זרע על פני כל הארץ, כי לימים עוד שיבה. אנוכי מתיר על הארץ 40 יום ו40 לילה, ומחיתי את כל היקום אשר עשיתי מעל פני האדמה. ויעש נוח ככל אשר ציווהו אדוני, ונוח בן 600 שנה, והמבול היה מים על הארץ. ויבוא נוח ובניו ואשתו ונשי בניו איתו אל התיבה מפני מי המבול. מן הבהמה הטהרה ומן הבהמה אשר איננה טהרה, ומן העוף וכל אשר רומס על האדמה, שניים באו אל נוח אל התיבה זכר ונקבה, כאשר ציווה אלוהים את נוח.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher natan lanu Torat emet v'chai olam nataper v'chachenu Baruch atah Adonai noten haTorah.
Amen. We will take just a moment to say Mishaberach for Cholim. I will sing and then I will ask you to speak whoever you're thinking of out loud. Just a moment. Mishaberach avoteinu Mekor habracha leimotenu. May the source of strength, who bless the ones before us, help us find the courage to make our lives a blessing, and let us say, Amen. Chaim ben Ethel, Mordechai Avraham ben Yael, Moshe David ben Chanasima, Rebecca bat Takeo, Paul Abeta, Amanda Mevorach, Jill Cocker, Lisa Parisi, Elaine Berman, Blanca Diaz, David Steinberger, Christine Sun, Michael Vaughan Sr., Becky Summerman, Whit Camper, Fievel Handel Ben Vituvia, Joy Gelfand, and Julian Eli. Mishe beirach imotenu mikor habracha lavotenu. Bless those in need of healing with refuah shlema, the renewal of body, the renewal of spirit, and let us say, Amen. We continue with the fifth aliyah.
Verse 10.
Ta'amod.
Baruch Adonai Hamvarach. Baruch Adonai Hamvarach Olam Vaed. Baruch Atah Adonai Eloheinu Melech Haolam Asher Bachar Banu Mikol Hamim V'natan Lanu et Torato. Baruch Atah Adonai Notein HaTorah.
Amen. Vayu l'shivat hayamim umei amabul hayu al haaretz b'shinat sheish me'ot shana lechayi Noach b'chodesh hasheni b'shivat asar yom lechodesh b'yom hazeh nikveu al mayanot tehom rabah va'arubot hashamayim niftachu vayhi hageshem al haaretz arba'im yom va'arba'im laila ve'etzem hayom hazeh ba'noach v'shem v'cham v'yafet B'nei Noach ve'eshet Noach u'shloshet nashei vanav itam ala teva hema v'chol ha'haya lemina v'chol ha'behema lemina v'chol ha'remes ha'romas al ha'aretz leminehu v'chol ha'of leminehu kol tzipor v'chol kanaf v'yovu el Noach el ha'teva shnayim mikol ha'basar asher bo ruach ha'hayim haviyim zachar v'nekeva Mikol basar va'u kasher tziva oto Elohim vayiskor Adonai be'ado.
Baruch Atah Adonai Eloheinu Melech Haolam Asher Natan Lanu Torat Emet V'chayei Olam Nata B'tochenu. Baruch Atah Adonai Notein HaTorah.
Amen. Judy is celebrating a birthday.
Birthday?
A birthday, yes. So we're going to offer Mishaberach for that birthday. Mishaberach Avoteinu Avraham Yitzchak v'Yaakov Sarah Rivka Rachel v'Leah Hu Yavarech Sha'ala Yom Huledet Shala. What's your Hebrew name? Sorah. Bat Beryl v'Fego Shala Hayom Lichvod HaMakom Lichvod HaTorah Kodesh Baruch Hu Yishmor Otav Et Kol Mishpachta Yishlach bracha v'tzlacha v'chol ma'aseh yadeha im kol Yisrael echeha v'nomar Amen. Happy birthday.
Again.
No dancing on stage? Sixth aliyah. Ya'amdu. Mordechai ben Menachem Mendel Yosefia bat Shmuel
Yom Belet Sameach.
We are going to be on page 46, verse 17.
Baruch et Adonai Avarach.
Baruch Adonai Avarach le'olam va'ed.
Baruch Adonai Avarach le'olam va'ed. Baruch ata Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, asher bachar banu mikol ha'amim, v'natan lanu et Torato. Baruch ata Adonai noten haTorah.
Amen. Vayehi hamabul. Arba'im yom al haaretz. Vayirbu hamayim. Vayizu et ha-teva. Vatara me al haaretz. Vayigbaru hamayim. Vayirbu me'od al haaretz. Vatelech hatefa al panei hamayim, v'hamayim gavru me'od al haaretz, vayechusu kol harim hagavohim asher tachat kol hashamayim, hamesh esrei ama milmala gavru hamayim, vayechusu harim Vayigva kol basar haromes al haaretz be'of uva behema uva chaya uvechol hasheret hasharetz al haaretz v'chol ha'adam kol asher nishmat reach hayim ruach hayim b'apav mikol asher bar charava metu vayimach et kol haykum asher al panei adama me'adam v'ad behema ad remes v'ad of hashamayim vaymechu min haaretz v'yasha vayisha ach Noach v'asher ito bateva vayigbaru hamayim al haaretz hamishim ume'at yom.
Baruch ata Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, asher natan lanu Torat emet v'chayei olam nota b'tochenu. Baruch ata Adonai noten haTorah.
Ya'amdu Ruven Levi ben Avraham Miriam bat Bela v'zev Laliyah Hashavi.
Baruch et Adonai Hamvarach.
Baruch le'olam va'ed.
Baruch Adonai Hamvarach le'olam va'ed. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, asher bachar banu mikol ha'amim, v'natan lanu et Torato. Baruch atah Adonai noten haTorah.
Amen. ויזכור אלוהים את נוח ואת כל החיה ואת כל הבהמה אשר איתו בתיבה. ויעבד אלוהים רוח על הארץ וישוקו המים ויסחרו מעיינת תהום וערובת השמיים ויקלה הגשם מן השמיים וישובו המים מעל הארץ הלוך הלוך ושוב ויחזרו המים מקצה 50 ומאת יום. ומאת יום ותנח התיבה בחודש השביעי 17 יום לחודש על הרי ערערת והמים היו הלוך וחסוד עד החודש העשירי בעשירי באחד לחודש נראו ראשי הערים ויהי מקץ 40 יום ויפתח נוח את חלון התיבה אשר עשה וישלח את העורב ויצא ושוב עד יבושת המים מעל הארץ וישלח את היונה מאיתו לראות הקלו המים מעל פני האדמה ולא מצאה היונה מנוח לכף רגלה ותשוב אליו אל התיבה כי מים על פני כל הארץ וישלח ידו ויקחיה ויבא אותה אליו אל התיבה ויחל עוד 7 ימים אחרים ויוסף שלח את היונה מן התיבה ותבא אליו היונה לאט ערב והנה עלי זית טרף בפיה וידע נוח כי כלו המים מעל הארץ ויחל עוד 7 ימים אחרים וישלח את היונה ולא יספה שוב אליו עוד ויהי ב1,600 שנה בראשון באחד לחודש חורבו המים מעל הארץ ויסר נוח את מכסה התיבה וירא והנה חורבו פני האדמה ובחודש השני ב27 יום לחודש יבשה הארץ.
ברוך אתה אדוני אלוהינו מלך העולם אשר נתן לנו תורת אמת וחיי עולם נטע בתוכנו. ברוך אתה אדוני נותן התורה.
We rise for the Chatzi Kaddish. Yitkadal v'yikadash shmei Rabbah. Amen. Al nivrach Yirutei v'yamlich malchutei v'chayechon v'yomechon uv'chayei dechol beit Yisrael ba'gala ba'gala uv'izman kariv v'meru amen. Yehi shmei Rabbah mevorach Olam Yomei Omaya Yitbarach Vishtabach Vitbar Vitrama Vitnaseh Vitadar Vitalev Vitalal Shmei Dekudisha Brichu Le'ela Min Kol Birchata V'Shirata Tushbechata V'Nechemata Damiram Be'olma V'Meru Amen. Please be seated. Ya'amod David Shmuel Ben Meir Simcha Besara Maftir Chazak.
ברכו את אדוני המבורך.
ברוך אדוני המבורך לעולם ועד.
ברוך אדוני המבורך לעולם ועד. ברוך אתה אדוני אלוהינו מלך העולם אשר בחר בנו מכל העמים ונתן לנו את תורתו. ברוך אתה אדוני נותן התורה.
אמן.
ויחל עוד 7 ימים אחרים, וישלח את היונה ולא יספה שוב אליו. שוב אליו עוד, ויהי ב1,600 שנה. בראשון ב1 לחודש חורבו המים מעל הארץ, ויסר נוח את מכסה התיבה. וירא והנה חורבו פני האדמה בחודש השני ב27 יום. יום לחודש יבשה הארץ. ברוך אתה אדוני אלוהינו מלך העולם אשר נתן לנו תורת אמת וחיי עולם נטע בתוכנו. ברוך אתה אדוני נותן התורה.
יעמדו Elisha Yaakov ben Moshe
Leib וחיה בלימה.
ben Moshe
Moshe
Leib וחיה בלימה Indel bat Yitzchak Berachalea Magbiah v'Golelet Zizut HaTorah Asher Sam Moshe Bifnei Bnei Yisrael Al Pi Adonai V'yad Moshe Torah, 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 Torah Tziva Lanu Moshe Torah, 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 Torah Tziva Lanu Moshe Torah, 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 Torah Torah Tziva Lanu Moshe Torah, 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 Torah Torah Tziva Lanu Moshe.
Shabbat Shalom. So while I was sitting down to write my Devar this week, of course, I had writer's block. Happens every time I try and start. And there are a couple things I usually do. I'll go for a walk. I'll pick up my guitar and noodle around for a little bit. But mostly I like to just sit and listen to some music and space out a little bit. So this week, it was Marcus King. For any modern blues fans out there today or online, just came out with a new album, which is pretty great. And as I was sitting, my eyes started to wander around the room. I started to look at my bookshelves, and I started to notice the trinkets that were on my shelves. My grandfather's meerschaum pipe, a brass oil lamp, my lucky genie lamp that my parents brought back from the Grand Bazaar in Turkey for me as a gift when I was a child, an elephant statue from India, stuff. Many of us have objects, trinkets, and heirlooms on display in our homes or stored in secure locations. And if it's a family heirloom, the longer the item's been in the family, the more significance it usually has. And these objects, whatever they are, connect us with our past and our heritage. We put them on display both because of their aesthetic beauty and because of the meaning we ascribe to them. They serve as reminders, as touchstones, and in doing so, they help us live in the present. And in my case, this past week, they helped me with a pretty bad case of writer's block, reminding me of the hidden heirloom found in this week's Parsha. At the beginning of Noah's story, we read God's instructions on how to build the ark, and we get this really innocuous, seeming irrelevant instruction, Tzohar ta'aseh teva ve'elama techalena milmala. JPS translates this as, make an opening for daylight in the ark and terminate it within a cubit on the top. So Tzohar here is translated by JPS as opening, which in and of itself is an interpretation. Side note, all translations are interpretations, especially since this word Tzohar is what we like to call in the business a hapax legomenon, which one of my teachers, which actually David and I took a class with Dr. Robert Wexler a couple of years back. So he said we should use that word to impress people at cocktail parties. So this isn't a cocktail party, it's services, so it's close enough. So we've got this word Tzohar. It only appears once in Tanakh. It's the only time. And because of that, there's no real way to know exactly what it means. And the rabbis have a total field day with this. They love words that only appear once because it gives room to play, to think, to imagine, to dream. So Rashi says it's a window. Somebody else says it's a roof or a skylight. And we have an interesting idea in the Talmudic era Midrash Breshit Rabbah as to what exactly this word Tzohar means. During the entire 12 months that Noah was in the ark, he did not require the light of the sun by day or the light of the moon by night. But he had a polished stone, which he hung up. When it was dim, he knew it was day, and when it was bright, he knew it was night. Breshit Rabbah theorizes that the Tzohar was in fact a special gemstone which illuminated the ark during the flood. An entire mythology developed around this stone. And as I've said before, when I say mythology, I don't mean that in the pejorative. I mean mythology as a story which points towards spiritual truth and helps us understand and ascribe meaning to life. So this mythology developed around what the Tzohar was, what this stone was. And the story goes that during the creation of the world, God placed the first light of the first day in this stone. It contained the primordial light, and the power of the light was too powerful for the world, so God hid it away. Some time passed, and after Adam and Eve were exiled from the Garden of Eden, Raziel, the angel of revelation and mysteries, gives the stone to Adam. The stone passes through the generations, and Noah gets it to illuminate the ark. It continues its journey and is used by Abraham to heal others and by Joseph to interpret dreams. Ultimately, Moses finds the stone when removing Joseph's bones from Egypt, and he places it inside the tabernacle to take with the Israelites on their journey. The Zohar even says that Rabbi Shimon Bar Yochai, the traditional author of the Zohar, possessed the stone. This is quite the family heirloom. In each generation, it's used for a different purpose, and it had a different meaning. And so our question this week is, what did it mean for Noah? Was it just to illuminate the ark? Are we talking about a glorified light bulb? One of the reasons that humans appreciate and value gemstones, I mean, just walk down Melrose Avenue and see all those crystal stores. It's because of their beauty. And and specifically, in terms of their aesthetic beauty, it's about how they refract light. So I want everybody to take a minute and think back to your elementary school science classes. You can have a little participation. What do you get when light passes through a prism? Amazing. A rainbow. The light refracts through the prism and you get a rainbow. When you look at a gemstone, what are the colors that you see? I believe that Sohar refracted the light of the first day of creation, illuminating the ark in the colors of the rainbow. This should remind you of the conclusion of our story when God makes a covenant to never destroy the earth again and says to Noah, I've set my rainbow in the clouds, and it shall serve as a sign of the covenant between me and the earth. The rainbows of light refracted by the Tzohar, illuminating Noah's darkest days, became the symbol of God's everlasting covenant. Whether Noah knew it or not, God was with him during the flood. We can imagine Noah looking up at the Tzohar, seeing its rainbow light, and feeling a small but persistent feeling of hope. Even if he didn't know exactly where it was coming from, the hope that things would get better, the hope that his course was true, and the hope that the flood would end and the world would be saved and reborn. And the truth of the matter is, we all need things which inspire hope within us. And it doesn't have to be a magic stone, and it doesn't even need to be a thing. A song, a text, a relationship, a belief, an idea. And also sometimes it is a thing, and that's okay too. It's all right if it's a thing. Whatever you have that gives you hope, hold on to it and let it work its magic when you need it most. And perhaps even more important than holding on to that thing is sharing that thing with others. Be that Tzohar for someone else. Inspire hope. Hope that what is not necessarily what will be. Hope that whatever the present situation is, the light will continue to shine. My bracha, my blessing for all of us this week is that may we both find the sources of hope already present within our lives and be sources of hope for others. Shabbat Shalom.
We will continue with the Haftarah for Noach, starting on page 65 in your Chumash. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher bachar b'neviim tovim ratza v'divreihem hane'emarim behemet Baruch atah Adonai abocher b'Torah u'v'Moshe avdo u'v'Yisrael amo u'v'nviei ha'emet b'tzedek Roni akara lo yalada pitzchirina v'tzali lo chala Ki rabim b'nei shomema mib'nei ve'ula amar Adonai Archivi mekom holech viriot mishkenotayich Yatu al tachsochi ha'arichi metarayich v'tedotayich hazeki Ki yamin u'smol tifrotzi V'zarech goyim yirash, ve'arim neshamot yoshivu. Al tir'i ki lo tevoshi, ve'al tikalemi ki lo tahpiri, ki voshet alumayich tishkachi, ve'cherpat almenutayich lo tizkeri od. Ki vo alayich osayich, Adonai tsevaot shemo, וגואלך קדוש ישראל, אלוהי כל הארץ יקרא. כי כאישה עזובה, ועצובת רוח כרעך אדוני, ואשת נעורים כי תימאס, אמר אלוהיך. ברגע קטון עזבתיך, וברחמים גדולים אקבצך, בשצף קצף הסתרתי פני רגע ממך, ובחסד עולם ריחמתיך, אמר גואלך אדוני. אם נוח זאת לי, אשר נשבעתי, מעבור מנוח עוד על הארץ, כן נשבעתי מקצוף עלייך ומגער בך. כי ההרים ימושו והגבעות תמותנה, וחסדי מאיתך לא ימוש, וברית שלומי לא תמות, אמר מרחמך אדוני. ענייה סוערה לא נוחמה, הנה אנוכי מרביץ בפוך, אבנייך ויסדתיך בספירים. ושמתי כדחוד שמשותייך, ושרייך לאבני אקדח, וכל גבולך לאבני חפץ. וכל בנייך לימודי אדוני, ורב שלום בנייך. בצדקה תיכונני, רחקי מעושק, כי לא תיראי, וממחיתה כי לא תקרב אלייך. הן גור יגור אפס מאותי, מגר איתך עלייך יפול. הנה אנוכי בראתי חרש, נופח באש פחם, ומוציא כלי למעשהו, ואנוכי בראתי משחית לחבל. כל כלי יוצר עלייך לא יצלח, וכל לשון תקום איתך למשפט תרשיעי. זאת נחלת עבדי אדוני וצדקתם, מאיתי נאום אדוני. אוי כל צמא לכו למים, באשר אין לו כסף, לכו שברו ואכולו, ולכו שברו בלא כסף, ובלא מחיר יין וחלב. למה תשקלו כסף בלא לחם, ויגיעכם בלא לשבעה? שמעו שמוע אלי ואיכלו טוב, ותתענג בדשן נפשכם. הטו אוזניכם ולכו אלי, שמעו ותחי נפשכם, ואכרתה לכם ברית עולם, חסדי דוד הנאמנים. הן עד לאומים נתתיו, נגיד ומצווה לאומים. הן גוי לא תדע תקרא, וגוי לא ידעוך, אליך ירוצו, למען אדוני אלוהיך, ולקדוש ישראל כי פערך. ברוך אתה אדוני אלוהינו מלך העולם, צור כל העולמים, צדיק בכל הדורות, האל הנאמן האומר ועושה, המדבר ומקיים, שכל דבריו אמת וצדק. נאמן אתה הוא אדוני אלוהינו, ונאמנים דבריך, ודבר אחד בין דבריך, אך לא ישוב ריקם, כי אל מלך נאמן, ורחמן אתה. ברוך אתה אדוני, האל הנאמן בכל דבריו, רחם על ציון, כי היא בית חיינו, ולעלובת נפש תושיע במהרה בימינו. ברוך אתה אדוני, ושמח ציון בבניה. שמחנו אדוני אלוהינו באליהו הנביא עבדך ומלכות בית דוד משיחך. במהרה יבוא ויגל ליבנו, על כיסו לא ישב זר ולא ינחלו עוד אחרים את כבודו. כי בשם קודשך נשבעת לו, שלא יכבה נרו לעולם ועד. ברוך אתה אדוני מגן דוד. על התורה ועל העבודה ועל הנביאים ועל יום השבת הזה, שנתת לנו אדוני אלוהינו לקדושה ולמנוחה, לכבוד ולתפארת. על הכל אדוני אלוהינו אנחנו מודים לך ומברכים אותך. יתברך שמך בפי כל חי תמיד לעולם ועד. ברוך אתה אדוני מקדש השבת. We continue with Yikum Purkan? Yikum Purkan on page 176. Yikum Purkan min Shemaya. Amen. Mishaberach Avotenu Abraham Yitzchak Yaakov. הקדוש ברוך הוא ישלם שכרם ויסיר מהם כל מלאכה וירפא לכל גופם ויסלח לכל עוונם וישלח ברכה והצלחה בכל מעשה ידיהם עם כל ישראל אחיהם ואחיותיהם ונאמר אמן.
We continue with the Ashrei.
אשרי יושביתך עד יהללוך סלע אשרי עם שככה לו Ashreham Shadonai Elohav. We're on page 181. Tehillah LeDavid Arumim
Tehillah Adonai, Derbe Pivirech Wasashim Shalom Vanach Nevarech Yamet.
Tehillah Adonai, Derbe Pivirech Wasashim Kodsho Leolam Va'ed. אנחנו נברך ימתה ועד עולם, hallelujah.
We rise, page 183, as we return our Sefer Torah to the Aron Kodesh.
יהללו את שם אדוני, כי נשגב שמו לבדו, הודו על ארץ ושמיים.
Keren le'amo, tehillah lechol chasidav, livnei Yisrael am kirovo. Hallelujah, hallelujah. Havu l'Adonai b'nei elim, havu l'Adonai kavod va'oz. Kol Adonai, Kol Adonai behadar, Kol Adonai shover arazim, Vaishaber Adonai et arzei halvanon. Kol Adonai, Kol Adonai Yachil Midbar, Yachil Adonai Midbar Kadesh. Adonai lama buya yasha. Adonai oz le'avoyitem. Adonai yevarech et amo v'shalom. Uvnucho yama.
כך טוב נתתי לכם תורתי אל תעזבו עץ חיים היא למחזיקים בה ותומכיה מאושר דרכיה דרכי נועם וכל נתיבותיה שלום השיבנו אדוני אליך ונשובה חדש ימינו כקדם.
So as soon as we finish our Musaf service, we are going to invite Avram, David, and Michelle to come up onto the bima to share a little bit about their life, their story, so you have a sense of who they are. So we're going to daven the Amidah Musaf and then invite them to come up before we conclude with Aleinu. So we turn to 184 for Chatzi Kaddish, and then continue with the Amidah together through the Kedusha on 187.
יתגדל ויתקדש שמי רבה.
אמן.
ועלמא דברה קירותי וימליך מלכותי בחייכון וביומכון ובחיי לכל בית ישראל בגלה ובזמן קריב ויאמרו אמן. יש שמי רבה מברך לעלם ולעלמי עלמיה. יתברך וישתבח ויתפאר ויתרומם ויתנשא ויתהדר ויתעלה ויתהלל שמי דקודשה בריחו לעילה מן כל ברכתה ושירתה תושבחתה ונחמתה דאמירן בעלמא ויאמרו אמן. ברוך אתה אדוני אלוהינו ואלוהי אבותינו אלוהי אברהם אלוהי יצחק ואלוהי יעקב אלוהי שרה אלוהי רבקה אלוהי רחל ואלוהי לאה האל הגדול הגיבור והנורא אל עליון גומל חסדים טובים וקונה הכל וזוכר חסדי אבות ומביא גואל לבני בניהם למען שמו באהבה מלך חוזר ופוקד ומושיע ומגן ברוך אתה אדוני מגן אברהם ופוקד שרה אתה גיבור לעולם אדוני מחיי מתים אתה רב להושיע משיב הרוח ומוריד הגשם מכלכל חיים בחסד מחיי מתים ברחמים רבים סומך נופלים ורופא חולים ומתיר אסורים ומקיים אמונתו נשעני עפר מי כמוך בעל גבורות ומי דומה לך מלך ממית ומחיה ומצמיח ישוע ונאמן אתה להחיות מתים ברוך אתה אדוני מחיי המתים. נריצך ונקדישה כסוד שיח שרפי קודש המקדישים שמך בקודש ככתוב על יד נביאך וכרזה אל זה ואמר קדוש 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 אדוני צבאות מלוך כל הארץ כבודו כבודו מלא עולם משרתיו שואלים זה לזה, איה מקום כבודו לעומתם, ברוך יאמרו. ברוך כבוד אדוני ממקומו. ממקומו הוא ייפן ברחמים ויחונם, העם יחדים שמו ערב ובוקר בכל יום תמיד, פעמיים באהבה שמע אומרים. שמע ישראל אדוני אלוהינו אדוני אחד, הוא אלוהינו הוא אבינו הוא מלכנו הוא מושיענו, והוא ישמיענו ברחמיו שנית לעיני כל חי להיות לכם לאלוהים. אני אדוני אלוהיכם, ובדברי קודשך כתוב לאמור, ימלוך אדוני לעולם, אלוהיך ציון לדור ודור. הללויה. לדור ודור נגיד גודלך, ולנצח נצחים קדושתך נקדיש, ושבחך אלוהינו מפינו לא ימוש לעולם ועד, כי אל מלך גדול וקדוש אתה, ברוך אתה אדוני האל הקדוש.
As you finish the Amidah, we turn to Kaddish Alem on 203.
יתגדל ויתקדש שמי רבה,
אמן.
ואלמד דברי קילותי ואמליך מלכותי בחייכון וביומכון ובחיי לכל בית ישראל, בגלה ובזמן קריב ואמרו אמן. יהי שמי רבה מברך, לעלם ולעלמי עלמיה. יתברך וישתבח ויתפאר ויתרומם וינשא ויתהדר ויתעלה ויתהלל שמי דקודשה. בריחו לעילא מכל ברכתה ושירתה תושבחתה ונחמתה דאמירן בעלמה ואמרו אמן. תתקבל צלותינו ועבדנו לכל ישראל קודם אבוהון דבשמיא ואמרו אמן. יהי שלום הרב מן שמיא וחיים עלינו ועל כל ישראל ואמרו אמן. עושה שלום במרומיו ויעשה שלום עלינו ועל כל ישראל ואמרו
Amen. So you can put your Sidurim away for a few minutes. We're going to invite David and Avram and Michelle to come forward. So I have. Okay, this one is working. But if you have questions for Avram, Michelle, and David, they look forward to answering those questions. So I'm going to start by just asking, the three of them, what brought you to this place? I don't mean to Shomrei Torah in particular, but what I mean is, Avram, you are in your second to last year of rabbinical school. Michelle, you have decided to, at this point in your career, become part of the Jewish people through informal Jewish education. And David, while you started in rabbinical school, you are now in cantorial school, almost complete as well, in your second to last year. So how'd you get there? We'll go starting with David and go down the line.
Okay, so I am a student at JTS, Cantorial School, which, if you know JTS, it's not in Los Angeles. And I'm also not commuting, really. I'm a holdout. I'm still in Los Angeles. Most of my colleagues are now in New York, but I joined Cantorial School during the pandemic when distance learning was a must. So I'm happy to be able to do this second to last year of school in Los Angeles. And I actually, prior to cantorial school, I attended Ziegler Rabbinics for 2 years and decided to switch my path to cantorial. And how did I get to rabbinical school? I had a hunger for it. So that's how I got here. That's my path. Yeah.
Michelle.
I'm Michelle. I did not grow up in the Valley or at this synagogue or at Temple Aliyah, but I grew up in the city in the Pico Robertson area, going to Temple Beth Am and Pressman. I went to Shalhevet for high school, went to Camp Ramah my entire life, even up until this past summer. So being in the Jewish world has always been a really big part of my life. I studied psychology at the University of Maryland, and so I really enjoy people and working with people and kids and teens. And I was working in a school last year in an elementary school in Studio City, and it was not a Jewish school, but I really enjoyed it and also felt like something was missing in my life, and I knew I wanted to be back involved in the Jewish world, and what that looked like exactly at the time, I didn't know. I couldn't have been able to predict that I would be in this role now, but I'm very thankful to be in this role and combining my passions for Judaism and youth. So that's how I got here.
So now that I'm in year 5 of this, it's on great. So now that I'm in year 5 of this thing, eat the mic? Is that okay? Great. So now that I'm in year 5 of this this whole rabbinical school thing, being here seems a little less strange, and definitely more comfortable. And still, I'm still a little surprised that I'm here, because I didn't expect the rabbinate, and it's something I ran away from for a long time. I mean, in an alternate reality, I'd probably be in a physics program somewhere. That's what I did my undergrad in. For many years, I was really focused on, I'm going to be an academic, and I'm going to get poor eyesight from reading too many research articles and be hunched over in a lab. And that's not what I'm doing. And I'm here because I had experiences where I was able to be honest with myself about what are the things I was interested in, what are the things that I wanted to do, how I wanted to spend my time. I had teachers and I had mentors that shared with me their experiences and saw the things in me that I couldn't see because I was too close to me, if that makes sense. And it was a process. And it took time and it took a lot of honesty. And I'm so happy that I'm here. Because when I'm here, I feel like I get to be the version of myself that I want to be. And I get to put out into the world the things I want to put out.
Okay. We're going to invite you, if you have follow-up questions, to have follow-up questions in just a few minutes. And Natalie has a microphone. So if you are interested in jumping in and asking one of the members of our staff a question, just raise your hand and Natalie will come over and give you the mic. So that way everybody here can hear and everybody online can hear. Before I do that, I just want one or two more questions that I'm going to ask. And the first question is there a Jewish book or an author who has greatly influenced you, your thinking, your decision-making process, your desire to be where you are and what it is that you're doing in your career? Or was there a Jewish book that just really resonated with you and transformed you in some way? So we'll start with Avram and work our way back.
So growing up on the East Coast, I had never really heard of Ziegler. All I knew was JTS, and I knew there was another school out on the West Coast, but that was the West Coast, and here I was stuck in Jersey outside of Philly. And as things would go, I heard about Ziegler, and somebody said, a good friend of mine actually, oh, you need to read Rabbi Bradley Shavit Artson's books. Specifically, you have to read Renewing the Process of Creation. And this was right in the thick of my tension between science and religion and like what my worldview was or was not. And that book came to me at a time where I was really engaging in those big questions. And for me, I found in that book a path towards constructing a theology and a worldview which was both spiritually authentic and intellectually honest. So I really think about that book as a starting point in my becoming a thoughtful Jewish adult.
I'm going to suggest perhaps in the springtime that Avram teaches that book to those of you who might be interested in reading and studying it. It's not an easy book to read, but it is an incredibly worthwhile book to read. And for people who struggle theologically, struggle with an idea of how God might be in their life, Rabbi Artson has some really wonderful insights. And I'm going to suggest that maybe in the spring or in the late winter that we study that with you.
I would love that.
Michelle.
So my book that was the most impactful to me, I actually read one summer when I was a counselor at camp. So whatever reading means when you are simultaneously taking care of 14-year-olds 24/7, but that book was Man's Search for Meaning. And something that was really a big part of my leadership roles in camp was purpose, and starting with the why and making sure that with everything that you did, whether it was a program or a conversation or a teaching that you wanted to do, that there was always a purpose, and that was the foundation for everything that you were doing. And that is a big theme in his book, in Viktor Frankl's book. And when you have purpose and you know why you're doing something and why and how that is fulfilling to you, you are able to keep going and you don't feel lost, and you have the will to keep on pursuing what it is that you want to be achieving. And I think that that is something that not just from camp, but also from this book has really been ingrained in me, and not just as a human being, but also in my work, making sure that there's always a reason why I'm doing what I'm doing, like bigger picture and also smaller scale, whether it's like the individual programs or just in general, what are the goals that I have for the department over this year, for 2 years, 5 years, and also week to week when I'm meeting with the teens, just making sure that I know the purpose and that purpose is conveyed through my teens as well.
How many of you have had a chance in your life to read Viktor Frankl's Man's Search for Meaning? So if you haven't, I would strongly encourage you to read it. It's really, he was a Auschwitz survivor, and the core of the book is the question, why did some people survive Auschwitz and others didn't? And how much of it is about the physical reality around us or the interior of our mental state and our attitude that allows us to move beyond. Definitely a worthwhile book. David.
Yes, sir. I have a few books. Just what you said just made me also think of The Sunflower. Deeply impactful book and broadening my thinking about forgiveness. But I wasn't thinking about that. The Source I would consider by James Michener. James Michener I don't think is a Jewish author, but I think The Source is a Jewish book. And talk about a page turner that I didn't expect to be a page turner. If you haven't read it, it's about an archaeological dig at a tell in Israel. And it goes through history level by level. It's a work of fiction. From like 10,000 BCE through the modern era. And I think it's amazing. It's an amazing survey of history. And opened my eyes to trends in Jewish life, that what we're experiencing now is not particularly new. And that leads me to As a Driven Leaf, if you've read it, which helped me understand that what we're experiencing now in the Jewish world is not particularly new. I'm talking about assimilation, anti-Semitism, all of it. This is not something we've just started dealing with. One more, The Yeshiva by Chaim Grada, translated from Yiddish. Amazing work of fiction. It was recommended to me by Rabbi Artson, who we were just talking about. It's basically a Jewish Star Wars, but instead of Jedis and Sith Lords, it's rabbis. In old world, like Ukraine, Poland. It's amazing. I would highly recommend it. The Yeshiva by Chaim Grada, or it's called Semach Atlas in Yiddish, if you read Yiddish.
Wow, a book that I haven't read that I'm going to have to pick up and read. The Source was the reason why I started to keep kosher fully in my life after I read that when I was 16 years old. If you haven't read The Source, it's a great book. If you haven't read The Sunflower by Simon Wiesenthal, it's really a wonderful book. And of course, As a Driven Leaf, this congregation knows that many times I have talked about it and taught it over the years. We're going to ask one more question, and then we're going to turn it over to all of you. If you could meet a Jewish historical figure and ask a question to that individual, who would it be and what question might you ask? Michelle, can we start with you?
So I would meet Golda Meir. I think that she was and still is, although she's not alive, but a very powerful woman who knew what she wanted and what she was fighting for and what her purpose was, and really paved the way for State of Israel, for future leaders, and especially now as I find my way and my role as a Jewish professional and a Jewish educator, having a strong female role model or historical figure is important. And my question. I would ask her how she would shape modern Israel education for youth in the 21st century, to have them grow up feeling like they have a well-rounded education and knowledge on Israel being in America.
Very nice. David, which historical figure, what question?
I would meet Rashi because, for two reasons. First reason, he is a pedagogue and a great one, and I like to collect good teachers, and his commentaries are great teachers, but I'm sure he was a better teacher. And I would ask him, who was your teacher? And tell me about your Rebbe. I want to hear about that. And then also because I think he made wine on the side. And I would ask him, where's the good stuff? I don't want the boiled stuff. Give me the good stuff.
That reference was Yain Mivushal, that not all kosher wines, but many kosher wines are flash pasteurized through extreme heat. There are plenty of really good kosher wines that you don't have to get mivushal. They're just a little harder to get. He did not flash pasteurize and burn his wine before drinking it, that's for sure. Avram.
I think I'm going to have to go with Gershom Scholem. That may be a familiar and unfamiliar name, but he was a 20th century academic and researcher who basically single-handedly created the academic study of Kabbalah. The field remained in obscurity for a very, very long time, and he was ridiculed and he was laughed at that, this is fairy tale stuff, like why are you spending your time researching this? But the work that this man did to categorize and systematize and uncover and translate just the sheer number of publications that he was able to do in his lifetime, and any academic study, any book basically that has been written about Kabbalah in our lifetimes in some way goes back to him. Now, the interesting thing about him is it's very unclear if, he was an academic, and so there isn't any mention at all about whether this was purely an academic discipline for him or whether he was a practicing Kabbalist. But in it's an essay collection or a journal collection, something like that, I don't remember the name off the top of my head, there's a very obscure passage, like 2 lines, and the entry says something along the lines of, "Today I finally achieved it." And that's it. That's the only entry. And so my question to him would be, what happened on that day?
I asked those last 2 questions with purpose because I also would invite each one of you to think about what book, Jewish book or Jewish author, has influenced you significantly? Is there a Jewish book, a Jewish author that has influenced you? And what Jewish historical figure would you want to meet with? And what question would you ask that individual? So I think there are good questions to think about. And while you're sitting and having lunch today with hopefully people that you don't know and you're looking forward to meeting, maybe you can use those questions as an opportunity to get to know one another a little more deeply. Natalie has a microphone, and if there's a question that you have for the three, she's going to bring the microphone over. I want to be conscientious of time. It's 12. I want to end services about 12:15. So we'll take a few questions, and then we'll be quick with the answers so we can get as many as possible. Rabbi Kirsch, yes. Oh, wait, stop. I'll repeat it. Ask the question, I'll repeat it. So Rabbi Kirsch wants to know from Michelle, what are some of her plans and ideas to draw the teens in to Jewish life here at Shomrei and Temple Aliyah and beyond?
That's a question I can answer. Thank you. I would like to, we have a really strong turnout right now on our weekly lounge events, and with all the chagim that felt like they were drawn out for months, it was a little hard to get more activity or more involvement from them, but hopefully starting to have monthly, if not twice a month, Shabbat meals at here or Aliyah, and then being part of the service on Friday night as well, having a lot of holiday centered programming as well, getting them involved in volunteer opportunities in the community, whether it's at either of the shoals or out in the community. Also having a lot of fun. Having fun is also Jewish. So yeah, I don't know. Fun things. I don't know if you want more specifics than that, but
she actually organized for this coming Tuesday, Shelley, CBS Morning Show is going to be here filming. They wanted to talk with some teens about Kanye West and other examples of anti-Semitism that we're facing in our community today, the 405, for example. And so the teens who are here right now this Shabbat morning, some others are going to be gathering through Michelle's arranging to have this conversation. It will be on TV. We'll let you know when it's going to be aired. Other questions? You're not. Just yell it out. She's a teacher, so you can tell that she has the voice. Excellent question. Any of you can just jump in.
I'll start. I have two goals right now. I would like to. One of my goals as a Jewish educator is to teach fundamentals. Which means fundamentals of Hebrew reading, fundamentals of Torah reading, to youth and to adults. I think everyone can benefit from skills, and most people enjoy learning skills. This includes young people too. So I think skill-based learning is really important to me. Also, I want to be involved in, more than I am now, more creative musical projects. And I'd like to have a recorded album by this summer. So I'll keep you posted. I just said that out loud in public for the first time. So now I'm accountable. Keep me accountable.
So perhaps if some of you have always had an inkling to participate in Shabbat services but have been afraid, either your Hebrew is not great, which you should see Barbara Klurstenfeld to help you, or your davening skills and you don't know how to turn your Hebrew into the music of the service, maybe you can approach David and ask to do a little bit of learning. And if you have read Torah once in your life a long time ago, or have never read Torah, but would like to brush up or learn that skill, because we're always desperate for new Torah readers, maybe you can see David.
Please talk to me.
And practice those skills. The other two of you, do you have an answer to that question?
I think if we're to take the Midrash seriously, or take this idea seriously that everybody, every Jew was present at Sinai. Within the course of time, every Jew was there. That means that everybody who is Jewish has this tradition as their birthright. And when I say every Jew, I'm not interested in conservative or Orthodox or Reconstructionist or Reform or Renewal. I mean all of them. And so I feel as though it's my goal is to be in a position to help, not help, because help implies that the person can't do it on their own, to support others in their exploration of Judaism in order to craft a relationship with Judaism that is authentic to their lived experience and also fits within the larger context of the community that they're living in. And I also believe that there's no Judaism, there are only Judaisms, and that each person who is Jewish, it's their responsibility to craft an authentic relationship with this tradition. And I want to be in the position to be a part of that process for both individuals and a community.
My answer is very similar to Avram's. I think that it's really important to grow up and feel confident in your relationship with Judaism, even if that looks different from the person that's sitting next to you. And my youth are in a very crucial time in their lives where they can really be exploring that in many different ways and figuring out what is meaningful to them now, maybe wasn't meaningful to them a year ago or won't be in 3 years from now, and feeling comfortable exploring that and ultimately feeling confident in their expression of Judaism, whatever that looks like.
Great question, great answers. Yeah. So the question was, how does Avram, he was directing it specifically to Avram, how do you come up with the way in which the Torah that you're going to teach has some resonance with the people who are listening so that you can draw them in to the idea in Torah, but do it in a thoughtful and, interesting or creative way?
So there are a couple principles that I follow for that. First off, it's a great question. It's going to force me to articulate my process. I think the first piece is whatever it is, it has to be relatable and applicable. And right, it doesn't matter how much, it does matter, like it matters how much you study, but if I came up there and inundated everyone with all the other midrashim about the Tzohar that weren't relevant, or what other rabbis said about the topic, right? It's not a book report. And I think oftentimes people fall into this trap of either making it a book report or feeling like this is my one shot to show how much information I know on the subject. and it misses the point. Because, as you said, the point is to connect. And I believe that my way, at least, of doing that is to find the middle ground between these lofty ideas, right? Like today we were talking about this stone that contains the light of creation that was given to Adam by, this angel, okay, right? But we started with stuff with tchotchkes on a bookshelf. The angels and the stones and the lights and the mysticism, it has to be grounded in this reality. And the things that we teach, regardless of whether you're a rabbi or not, has to be grounded in the everyday, and to look deeper and to see that those ideas are contained within the things that we often just pass by. And really all that looks like, the other piece to that for me is when I open the text and I read, I don't think. I just read. And I become aware of what do I snag on in the text? And I begin following it. And it's like following, going down the rabbit hole of like, how far can I take this thing? And sometimes it's a dead end and I have to start over. But I get a feeling when I know I'm in the groove. Yeah.
Ralph, I don't want to cut you off, but I'm going to cut you off only because of the time. And there's 2 more questions that I want to get to, and I want to make sure that people get to lunch. So I do want you to continue the conversation, but just to be respectful of, because I want to get a quick last question from Judy and from John. Yeah. Okay, so the question is, when you're not focused on your professional career, what do you love to do for fun? David.
First and foremost, I have 2 cats, and I like to play with my cats. The second thing, I love to play softball, and I played for Sinai Temple softball team, and I played for Adat Shalom softball team, and I'm looking forward to playing for Shomrei Torah's softball team. So I'd like to see you all out there for our first game. I don't know what it is, but I'll let you know.
Not to be confused with the upcoming Shomrei Torah Bowling League.
Michelle, what do you do for fun?
I really enjoy shopping, right, Rabbi Cameras? I really enjoy shopping, and I really enjoy cooking and baking. And that was something that really got me through quarantine when I was really bored, as I'm sure most of you had a lot of time in the kitchen. And I could never forget playing with my childhood dog, Pepper. She's a cutie and my favorite.
Avram.
So I love to cook, actually. That's sort of my Zen space. So anytime I can get into the kitchen and throw some music on and start just making something, I'm pretty happy. So, if it's a long day, like sometimes people feel that it's inconvenient to, like I have to cook dinner now. For me, that whatever period of time that is, like that's actually my decompression time.
He is a fantastic cook.
John, last question. Okay, early memory that's something silly that you hold on to. Who wants to start that question? That's a tough question. Wow.
I can start. I was at my friend's house. We were maybe 7 years old, and he had an orange tree and thought it would be fun to throw oranges over the house because that's what you do. and he threw an orange at the window by accident, and I remember it splattered all over the window. And his mom ran out, and it was like, "What are you doing?" Thanks for asking that question. I haven't thought about that for years.
Yeah, that also unlocked some sort of core memory. I remember going to the Philly Zoo when I was a little kid, and we went to the gorilla sanctuary. And, I was small enough that I was weaving in between people, and I got right up to the window, and there's this huge silverback male gorilla sitting in front of the window, right? Just like leaning up to the side, hanging out. And I don't know from nothing, right? So I'm looking at him, and he's looking at me, and we're making eye contact. I don't know if that's a good thing or a bad thing. But I was curious, and my curiosity definitely gets me into trouble sometimes. But this time it paid off. For some reason, I had the idea to pretend to start picking my nose. And this male silverback gorilla is looking at me, and he starts picking his nose too. And so it was just this fascinating moment of nonverbal communication of the most ridiculous thing.
Michelle?
I don't know. It's not that silly, but I have a twin brother, and we grew up before we moved in. We shared a room when we were younger, and we had beds that were right next to each other. And whenever we were supposed to be going to sleep or whatever in the morning or not doing this, we would be making obstacle courses from each other's beds and holding the blanket and putting pillows in between each other's beds. And my brother got hurt one time, and that wasn't funny, but it was a funny time. And I don't know, it was fun to think of that. And then when we moved, we were really sad about not sharing rooms. And the second we moved, we never looked back and have not shared a room since.
Well, thank you, the three of you, for giving us a little bit of insight into who you are. And I think it's so important for our community. And I want to thank, I don't remember whose suggestion this was. Was it Judy's, Groner? So I want to thank Judy Groner for this idea. Really helpful to be able to connect more deeply to these three individuals who are going to be playing a significant role, already have, in shaping our community and the people. And hopefully each one of you will get to know them individually and personally, and grow with them and from them over the course of the year or 2 years, because hopefully we'll be blessed with continuity with some of them over the course of beyond this year. So we're going to conclude our service, and remember, join us for lunch and games afterwards, and perhaps asking those questions at the table. Any of the questions that I asked or that you heard, to ask each other when you're sitting around the lunch table. We're going to rise for Aleinu.
עלינו לשבח לאדון הכל, לתת גדולה ליוצר בראשית, שלא עשנו כגויי הארצות, ולא שמנו כמשפחות האדמה, שלא שם חלקנו כהם, וגורלנו ככל המונם, ואנחנו קוראים ומשתחווים ומודים לפני מלך מלכי המלכים הקדוש ברוך הוא שעומד על שמיים יצר כי המלכות שלך היא לעולמי תמלוך בכבוד ככתוב בתורתך אדוני ימלוך לעולם ועד ונאמר והיה אדוני למלך על כל הארץ ביום ההוא ביום ההוא יהיה אדוני אחד, ושמו אחד.
You may be seated, recalling those whose yard sites are this week, the 4th to the 10th of Cheshvan, Victor, Abram and Melvin Deutsch, Michael Dinnan, Parveen Family, Ruben Felinsky, Nahum Frankel, Rachel Friedberg, Philip Goland, Hilda Goldfard, Solomon Goodrich, Lester Greenberger, Esther Jenner, Israel Cantor, Lillian Kaplan, Molly Caper, Abraham Katz, Harold Kessler, Lawrence Kornreich, Alan Kramer, Rose Kriegsman, Rose Lehman, Arthur Levine, Abraham Levine, Foster Levy, Pinya Litt, Ida Litwak, Alfred Lavelle, Edward Morris, Mary Oziel, Isidore Pernitz, Hyman Poulin, Patsy Ransahoff, Rinaldo Rosa, Barney Robbins, Jack Roseman, Barbie Ross, George Salden, Ralph Schlesinger, Wallace Shapiro, Lillian Simon, Sandra Singer, Lillian Singer, Byron Smith, Teddy Sugar, Helene Sussman, Pauline Tepperman, Miriam Turner, Jesse Weinstein, George Weisfeld, Mickey Wold, Paul Voloshin, Miriam Zimmerman, and we recall the death this week of Bonnie Sero. Those in mourning and observing a yard site, page 207. Yitgadal v'yitkadash merabah. Be'alma divrach yute v'amlich malchute. V'chayachonu v'yomechonu v'chayei d'chol beit Yisrael. Ba'agalau v'zman kari v'imru. Amen. Yehesh merabah mevorach le'olam u'me'almaya. Yitbarach v'yishtabach v'yitpa'ar v'yitromam v'yitnaseh. V'yitadar v'yitalev v'yitalal shemei d'kudishah b'richu. Le'ela min kol berchata v'shirata. Tushbechata v'nechemata. Damiran ve'alma v'imru. Amen. Yehei shlama rabba min shemaya. V'chaim aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael v'imru. Amen. Oseh shalom b'imromav hu ya'aseh shalom. Aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael v'imru. Amen. Ellen Cervantes, past president, will share some announcements, and then we'll invite our USYers, our Chaverim kids who are here to come on up for Adon Olam.
Okay, once again, I stand between you and lunch, so I'm going to make it short. Now, there's a lot of things that are happening at Shomrei Torah on our own here and also with Temple Aliyah, so check out the website because most of them are listed there. I will say a few things that are coming up, but first I wanted to thank all the people who volunteered for the golf tournament and for all the people who put the golf tournament together. It was quite fun. Now that I'm retired, it was the first time I could go, and I'm looking forward to doing it again. So thanks, everybody, for doing that. Coming up, Rabbi Kamras is going to be talking about the March of the Living on November 4th. If you're interested in going, I've heard nothing but awesome experiences from people who've done that before. Blood drive, mini mitzvah day, breakfast, and also save the date on Sunday, December 4th at 3 p.m. for the second annual Cantor Ron Snow Memorial Concert, Olam Chesed Yibaneh, A World is Built on Kindness, which was mostly, I think, when I think of Ron himself. And our two cantors, we have the pleasure of seeing Cantor Rafi back here in this bima, and also with David Childs. So December 4th, November whatever, every day, morning minyan, evening minyan, and thank you for being here today. Shabbat Shalom.
All right, Adon Olam, come on up. Jesse and Aaron and Natalie and Nomi and Francesca. Ella, come on up. Am asher malach b'terem kol yitzir nivra le'yet nasa b'chesako azayin l'shemo nikra Adon Olam kichlot takol levado imloch nora Adon Olam Yavahu hoveh V'hu yeh v'tifara Adon Olam. Olam asher malach b'terem kol Yitzer nivra Azan melech shemo nikra Adon Olam Laham shilo lahachvira Adon Olam Veli reishi veli tachli Velo ha'oz v'ham misra Adon Olam Adon Olam Asher malach b'terem kol Yitzer nivra Le'et nasab V'esakol azayin melech shemo nikra Adon Olam V'hu Eli v'chai go'ali v'tzor chavli v'etzisham Adon Olam V'lirisi u'manosli V'nakosi b'yom mikra Adon Olam Adon Olam Asher malach B'terem kol Yitzer nivra Le'et nasab V'esakol azayin melech shemo nikra Adon Olam B'ya'ado afkid ruchi V'yeti sham
Adon Olam Ve'im ruchi Geviati Adonai li v'lo ira Adon Olam
Adon Olam Asher malach
B'terem kol
Yitzer nivra
Le'et
nasab v'chefso kol Zayin melech shemo nikra Adon Olam.
We rise for Kiddush.
ושמרו בני ישראל את השבת, לעשות את השבת לדורותם ברית עולם. ביני ובין בני ישראל אותי לעולם, כי 6 ימים עשה אדוני את השמיים ואת הארץ, וביום השביעי שבת ויהי נפש. על כן ברך אדוני את יום השבת ויקדשהו סברי. ברוך אתה אדוני אלוהינו מלך העולם בורא פרי הגפן.
Shabbat shalom, everybody. Enjoy lunch and games.
Yay.